Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. A short little note to you today. There's a few people who I've heard from lately who look at the situation and are considering, should I move abroad? Should I invest locally? Should I invest abroad? Etc. And finding it's kind of confusing and paralyzing. And so I wanted to speak in this video today about that, about how you deal with the confusion, how you deal with kind of the complexities of the decision making. You know, are things going to change in one way in the future? Are they going to go a different way? Am I going to like this country more? I'm going to like that country more. We're going to talk about that subject and how to decide for yourself. So let's dive in. Before we do that, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the all notification. Really helps me, really appreciate your support in that regard. If you would like help with international tax optimization, with asset protection, with setting up international companies, with forming trusts, opening bank accounts, getting residencies in particular countries, getting passports and citizenships in various different countries, either through investment or descent or through unofficial programs or official, please reach out to me. You can book a call, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer. There's a link in the description below. Or you can send a message to our websites, offshorecitizen.net or offshorecapitalist.com. All right, so this subject of what should you do, right? Let's say that you're in the US. It doesn't matter though. You could be in Australia, you could be in UK, you could be in Canada, you could be in Germany, you could be in Malaysia. Doesn't matter. The point is you're in some country and you're thinking about relocating abroad. Probably for a couple of reasons. One is, you have concerns about things in your home country, whether, there's things that you dislike about it at the moment or things that you think might be coming up that you're concerned about. And on the flip side, maybe you think that there's some great things in another country, but you're not sure. And the truth is lots of things could happen in the future. Your crystal ball is broken, as is all of ours. What do you do in that situation? How do you deal with this struggle? And I often think that it's good to come up with mental models, like ways of thinking about things. So we kind of think about our thinking. To me, I think it's worth looking at kind of what it is that's holding you in place. And oftentimes, I think it's the sense that you need to get it right. And I think that often that sense is a little bit misguided. Okay? You don't actually need to get it right. I was given a piece of advice years ago. Someone said, if you ever have a chance to go and move abroad, always go and do it, because home will always be waiting if you need to come back. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. You can go, I think people think in terms of this is an absolute thing, and I certainly wouldn't recommend that somebody who's unsure, go and renounce their US citizenship. That's a pretty major decision, right? But to try moving abroad for a year and see how you like it is, I think, a great thing. To go and move to one country or another for 3 months or 6 months or a year is a great thing. What I notice is because these are formative life experiences, you kind of can't lose. Like, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of an opportunity cost, but you already know what path that's going to take you down. So I remember I had a really challenging decision-making point in my life. And I was challenged because I was quite afraid, and it was uncertain about what would be on the other side, and I felt a tremendous burden and challenge of facing that. And one of the things that helped me to get through it was I had this model where I thought, what is it that I want in my life? And okay, that's there. Then on the flip side, I said, okay, well, I know where the path that I'm on leads. And I know that the path that I'm on doesn't lead to this, what I want. And therefore, I know that as challenging as this might be, as uncertain as it might be, as confusing as it might be, everything that I want lies on the other side of that challenge and confusion and uncertainty. So I should go for it. And I did, and it turned out to be a great decision. Once you get into it, you discover that things aren't actually that difficult, they aren't actually that confusing, they aren't all that horrible or frustrating or whatever. And maybe it turns out that things change, right? You might say, oh, well, is the US going to get worse? Is some country going to institute some law that's going to be problematic? And maybe they will, maybe they won't. Maybe you'll go to some other country, like imagine people who left, I don't know, whatever country, and they went to Malaysia in, 2019 thinking, hey, it's so much better. And then the government started changing things. All of a sudden the rules were different. All of a sudden there were lockdowns. All of a sudden all this sort of thing. You said, wow, this isn't the country that I was hoping that it was. That's okay. You can leave. That's the beautiful thing. The beautiful thing is you don't have to make a permanent decision. You can make a move and you can go and try it out. And if you like it, keep doing more of that. If you don't, go and do something else. Another thing that I think helps is to take small steps. So this is one of the reasons I always encourage people start by going traveling and, do it as sort of an extended workation, maybe like a mini retirement sort of approach where you go and you live abroad for a month to 3 months in a place and you see, and then maybe you go and live a month to 3 months in the next place and you see, and you can switch between a few of these places. You can have a pretty stable life if you're willing to set yourself in a place for a while, and you're going to get a feeling for what it's like. Now, I will caution you that things are going to be unfamiliar and it takes time to gain the value that you have in your current environment. You're not going to have your social relationships, for example. That's, to me, one of the biggest ones, right? One of the biggest factors is the people and where do you go, who are you connecting with, etc. Well, at first, you won't have friends in the place that you're going unless, you already know somebody there, which if you do is great. But you're going to it's going to take time to build friendships, whereas you probably already got friendships where you are. You also probably already know the service providers or the restaurants or the whatever. For me, alternative health providers was a big one. So there's there's naturopaths and chiropractors and things like this that I would go and see in Canada who, I really liked. I was just back in Canada, and that was one of the things that I did was I went and I saw professionals who I really trust, they do a great job, etc. And I hadn't seen them in, a number of years, right? Whereas in, a new country, well, you have to navigate that again. So there is an acclimatization period, and so you shouldn't judge things too quickly, too harshly, etc. But at least you can get a sense for, is this, that, or the other thing going to bother you? And you can always go back. You can always reverse that. Maybe it cost you a little bit of time, but what you gained as a person in terms of your personal experience, in terms of your confidence, in terms of your worldliness, in terms of your perspective, etc., is, I think, well worth it. And so my encouragement to you is if you're in that situation where you're kind of stuck, where you're not quite sure what to do, etc., just do it. Go for it and do at least a small step. At least go and do something small and go through that process and say, okay, hey, look, wow, this was really cool. I liked that. That was kind of interesting. And, what's next? Now let's go and try the next thing. Or maybe you go and say, hey, this is horrible. I'm really glad that I went and tried that because now I'm happy to come back to the place where I'm from and stay there. So whatever it is for you, go and give it a go. It is definitely worth it. I hope that helps. If you have questions, comments, put them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Anyone who has gone and lived abroad, I would love to hear from you about what your experience was. Did you regret it? Did you learn from it? Was there some big takeaway? Was there something you wished you knew before you went? And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.